Hello and welcome, everyone. This is Aaron Carter III, President of Kaptivative HR Solutions. And this is something new that I'm going to be doing on the channel. I'm going to be having different business leaders from the surrounding community come on the show and talk about different things. And today I have Miss Lynn Louis, who is the Procurement Officer for the Northern Kentucky APEX Accelerator. And I've been working with Miss Lewis for about 7 months. She has guided me on my path to grow my government contracting portion of my company. So I wanted to bring her on here today so that she could enlighten entrepreneurs who are looking for a course of action, and government contracting may be that. So I'm going to bring Ms. Lewis on. Hi, Ms. Lewis. How you doing today?
Hey, Aaron. How you doing? I'm doing good.
I'm doing great. So everyone, today we're going to break down what APEX does, how small businesses in Kentucky can leverage these services, and the current challenges and opportunities that will be present in the government contracting community in 2006. Hey, Ms. Lewis, how you been doing today?
Pretty good. Pretty good for a Tuesday.
Good. So I'm going to let Ms. Lewis introduce herself and tell you all what she does in terms of her position at the APEX Accelerator. If there are any questions for people who are watching, please put them in the chat, and I will get those so that Ms. Lewis can answer your questions for you. So now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Lewis so she can tell you a little bit about her and what she does, and then we'll get the conversation started.
Well, first off, Aaron, I just want to say thank you for inviting me to your platform today to talk about what I do with the Kentucky APEX Accelerator. So, as Aaron had mentioned, I'm Lynn Louis. I am the Northern Kentucky Procurement Consultant with the Kentucky APEX Accelerator. I've been doing this type of work for more than 15 years, working with small businesses to help them to understand the procurement ecosystem in regards to either corporate opportunities in my past life, but now I'm currently on the government contracting side, just making sure that small businesses understand what they need to do to secure opportunities with the federal government, state, or local government entities. And I cover Northern Kentucky, so 15 counties. I go as far southwest to Oldham County, and then directly south to Scott County. So right before Lexington, right before Louisville are
Okay.
the counties that I cover.
Okay. Um, what is the APEX Accelerator, and why does it matter to individuals who are in the government contracting space?
So the Kentucky APEX Accelerator is formerly known as what some of your audience may refer to or remember as PTAC, and that stood for the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. We recently went through a name change about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago to be called APEX Accelerators. Now, Kentucky is only one of more than 90 organizations around the United States and its occupied territories that have these centers available to help small businesses understand how to work on the government contracting, the federal government contracting ecosystem. We are an initiative, though, of the Kentucky Science Technology Corporation, and they're a 501c3 organization. The Kentucky APEX Accelerator is funded through a cooperative agreement with the Department of Defense, and the KSTC manages that agreement. Um, all of our services are free, and we do receive, in addition to DoD funding, we do receive some funding from grants as well as in-kind donations also.
That's
Um,
that's good for the listeners to know because the way that the economy is right now, any entrepreneurial business that you can start where you can get help for free is going to
right,
be to the general public.
right. And I always say if it's free, it's for me. So, I mean, anything that you can obtain, any kind of information that you can obtain to help you grow your small business that's free, you definitely want to make sure that you're taking advantage of that. One of the unique things about the Kentucky Apex Accelerator is that we are the only procurement focused organization. So some other organizations out there may help you with procurement, and then they may also do other things. The Kentucky APEX Accelerator, or any APEX Accelerator, only focuses on government procurement opportunities at the federal, state, or local level, because the mission is for us to help Kentucky businesses grow and to help the Kentucky economy. And so we do that through, offering the trainings that we offer, the one-on-one coaching we provide, and the equipping that we provide small businesses to get them ready to pursue, the contracts that they may be wanting to go after.
Okay, okay. What are some of the problems you are helping small businesses with that are coming to you for help?
Well, pretty much anything when it comes to government contracting, but some of the things that we see quite often would be help with registrations, primarily with SAM, also known as the System for Award Management. Because what you'll probably see now, anyone that goes out and tries to Google information about government contracting, they may find our name associated with a federal government website. So a lot of times when someone goes to SAM to register, on that registration portal, they will be informed or advised to contact with an Apex Accelerator if they want to understand more about government contracting or they want assistance with sam.gov. And so a lot of clients come to us because of that, because they've gone to SAM, and either it worked okay or it didn't work okay. And they'll come to us, and then we work with them to help them to understand, what they need to change, what they have to fix to make sure the STEM registration goes through properly.
Okay, okay, okay.
But I'd say that's probably the one of the major things that we see, is clients coming to us for either SAM registration or some other type of database registration, or just, general help because they've Googled working with the federal government, and they'll go to maybe a federal government website, and then that website will send them back to us.
To the
So
Apex.
yeah, so just to kind of help your audience understand where we fit, um, we're like, what I call us, the middleman. So like if you try to go to the government on your own by yourself, if you really knew where to go or how to start the process, 9 times out of 10, once you got there and connected with a small business professional, they're going to ask you, are you working with the Apex Accelerator?
Mhm.
Because they know what we're supposed to do to help the small businesses build themselves up to where they can work within the defense industrial base or the government industrial base. So, we're the middleman. You have the small business, you have Kentucky Apex Accelerator, then you have the federal government. We help to bridge that gap.
Okay, okay. Um, why does the Apex matter for companies looking to enter or expand in the government contracting space?
Well, I think because of the resources that we can provide, and the assistance that we can provide. There really isn't anything regarding government contracting that we can't help our clients with. We have a group of excellent consultants in Kentucky. I'm one of six. We cover all 120 counties in the state of Kentucky. So therefore, there really isn't anything that someone can come to us to ask for help on that we can't, if we don't know the answer, that we can't find the answer to provide to them.
And
So
I can attest to that. I can attest to that.
so we're, a resource, that's there that to help a small business be successful and achieve their goals. So I mean, it's almost kind of like a no-brainer. The biggest challenge I would say is to increase the public's awareness that we're here. Even though there was a great campaign to transition us from being called PTAC to Apex Accelerators, there's still clients that come to us that have never heard of us before. So, I'm glad that you've given me this opportunity to tell others around the state of Kentucky and wherever they're listening from, that there is an Apex Accelerator in every state in the United States, as I said, and occupied territory. So, if you're interested in government contracting, you can just go to apexaccelerators.us, and you can find an organization that's going to be close that you
Mhm.
can connect with.
And I can say that I live right here on the river in northern Kentucky, and I have been contacted by the Ohio Apex
Mhm,
Accelerator in
mhm,
Cincinnati, But I
Mhm.
decided to, since I lived in Kentucky, that I wanted to work with the Kentucky APEX Accelerator, and I'm glad that I did because Ms. Lewis is my mentor through Apex, and I can say that the Apex Accelerator is a great organization if you're looking for help. Um, on the very first contract that I won, I thought that I was going to lose it because I didn't know how to get bond, get funding for a bond, or who I needed to talk to, and I brought that information to Miss Lewis. I told her the basically the problem that I was having in terms of trying to find a company to get a bond through. She put me through with a bonding company that was backed by the SBA, Small Business Association. And being that I was a new business, they were able to guide me through the bonding process where I was able to get the funds, get the bond, and I was able to complete the job that I had won. So that is one way that I can say that the Apex Accelerator really helped me, as well as all the additional information that you provided me. I meet with Miss Lewis probably once or twice a month to go over things that I've done, um, any any errors that I may have committed, anything that I need to talk about in terms of government contracting. I even talked to her about things that are off the record business wise. But yeah, I can attest that the Apex Accelerator is an organization that will help you get to where you're trying to get to.
And let me just add to that also. So in that specific situation, I was on vacation. So when Aaron reached out to me, I was on vacation, but this just goes to show the network that we have within Kentucky. So I was on vacation, but I knew what he was needing, so I just had my backup for my area to reach out to him and give him the information that he was needing. Even though I wasn't there, the great thing about the Kentucky Apex Accelerator is that our motto is when you get one of us, you get all of us. So even though I was on vacation, I still had information on my website, on my email address and my phone that said what to do in case I'm out. But I just happened to be checking my emails whilst I was out on vacation. Anyway, and so I connected Aaron with another consultant who, took care of getting him the right information that he needed. I was able to still enjoy my vacation. He was able to get what it was that he was needing, and everything turned out great.
What does a company like mine, I'm small, it's just me,
Mhm,
one
mhm.
person business. What does a company like mine represent when you talk about being contract ready, a contract ready business?
So you were what I would say, I don't want to say an exception to the rule, but you were almost contract ready when you came to us because you did have some type of experience in the past. You understood kind of sort of what you wanted to do, where you wanted to go, what you wanted to sell, or what you had to sell, but you still had some things that were missing. You had some gaps in getting your foundation established to make sure your I's were dotted, your T's were crossed, so when the opportunity did come before you, you were ready to execute it. So that was one of the things that made your situation unique. But generally, when someone comes to us and what we consider to be contract ready, one of the very first things that we always ask our clients is, do you have a business plan? Because believe it or not, your business plan is the foundation of your company, whether you're doing government contract or whether you're working corporate. If you're doing B2C, if you're doing B2B, business to business, business to consumer, business to government, you still need to have a business plan so you can understand how you're going to operate and how you're going to function with your business. You've done your market analysis. You've looked into how you're going to do your sales and marketing. You know what your break even point may be. You have your financial situation at least projected on what you want to do. So having all that information at least in a draft form, if not in a complete form, gives you an advantage because when you come to us, we'll ask you those things and then we can use that information to help guide you in the right direction that you need to take within the government contracting space.
Okay.
Um, so for a small business that may not have a business plan, then we do a lot of referrals out to the Small Business Development Center for their free services to help small businesses do their business plan, and any other type of service they may need that's not necessarily in government procurement.
Mhm.
So you can work with multiple agencies at the same time that you're working with us. So I would be focusing with my clients strictly in government contracting, where another agency can be helping them do other things to get them contract ready. Because to be contract ready, you really need to have an accounting system in place. You need to make sure that you know your business plan, as I mentioned, that should be in place. Having some past performance is good. If you don't have past performance, it's not a deal breaker, but we would coach you on things to look at to work towards getting past performance as soon as you possibly could. So, for example, we would suggest that you consider looking at local or state before you look at federal, because we know the federal government wants to do business with people that have done business. Um, if you don't have any federal or state, then we'll say pull from your corporate, whether it's because you've done a contract with someone um, from the corporate environment, or if you've worked in a corporation and you can verify that you have done the work that you're now doing for yourself, then that information can be positioned on a capability statement to reflect some type of past performance that you've done for somebody else, just not for your own business. So, those little nuances is what we can coach you on to help you to make sure that you have a capability statement. You really should already have your financial accounting system in place. Um, what else would you want to have? You want to have market research done, so you'll have an idea of what government agency needs what it is that you have available to sell. If you don't have that information already prepared, then we can help you figure that out and develop a strategy on how you want to move forward, understanding that this company may have had 10 contracts in the last 5 years, but then the company that you really wanted only had two. So then we'll help you to make a decision whether or not it's really viable to go after the company or target the agency that only had two contracts versus the one that had 10.
Right.
So those are the type of decisions that we can coach you on to help you to get in a better position um, to figure out what goals you want to try to achieve when it comes to opportunities you want to try to pursue.
So for people who are just getting into the government contracting space and
Hmm.
brand new to them,
Hmm.
can they use their employment that they have had, their career, can they use their career experience as past performance?
If it's in what you're currently doing. So, for example, if um, I was a bricklayer for ABC company, and now I've decided that I want to start my own small business in the bricklaying industry. Then yes, I can use my past experience on specific jobs that I know I worked on for my past performance. It's just at how you position it on your capability statement.
Okay.
And then whenever you talk to someone about the opportunity, you want to make sure that you're sharing with them how you have the expertise in this space was because you did the same thing. You were just working for somebody else. You weren't working for yourself, and you've decided to take on your own, start your own company and do the same service. Just you're doing it for yourself. So because you have to establish that you know what you're talking about. And so that's where it's going to come in. You able to take what you've done for somebody else and said, I decided to do this for myself. And this is, the project that I worked on. I was the project manager. This is what I did. This was the size of the contract. This is the person that, I had responsibility to or had responsibility over me. And so you would use that person as your point of contact once you've gotten that approval naturally to put them on a capability statement. You could use them as a point of contact so they could be reached out to confirm, yes, you did what you said you did on your capability statement.
Okay.
So it is possible to do that. And we see that a lot of times with startups that are transitioning from working for somebody else to working for themselves.
Okay. And the last topic on this section is, what gaps do you see most when individuals come to you? I know I was an exception to the rule because I had 15 years of government contracting experience before I came to you. But a person that doesn't have the experience I have, what types of gaps do you normally see that people come to you with?
I would say probably the past performance piece, um, and then just not fully understanding how to navigate through government contracting because if, and I know you've done this before, if you go to the website and you try to do some searching for um, government contracting,
Mhm.
and you may want to work with the Army. Well, there's different divisions that you may go down a rabbit hole. You may click on a link and you'll see, okay, I want to do this. But when you click on that link, then it's going to take you someplace else and you're going to see something else. Oh, well, I think maybe I can do this. And then you'll click on that next link. And before you know it, you spent an hour gone down a rabbit hole and you didn't really accomplish what it was that you set out to accomplish. So one of the major things is that small businesses don't always understand and know how to navigate to find the information that they need. And some of that I think goes back to is because they may not understand and know what they really want to do. So probably the first thing that you want to think about is what it is that you really want to do. What service or product do you want to provide to the government? And then figure out what the NAICS code is, and that stands for the the um, I just went blank. NAICS code, North
Basically,
American Industry
yeah.
Classification. The North American Industry Classification System code. You'll want to find one of those for whatever service or product that you're going to provide. And then your PSC code, your product service codes,
Mhm.
will drill down even in more detail for a federal government to help you to understand what it is that you want to start to look for when you're trying to do your market research. So I would say, just not knowing what you want to do is a big gap. Not understanding how to register for the right databases, like I said, with SAM, and maybe not having past performance, and being fearful or concerned that you can't do government contracting if you don't have any past performance. You can, but generally it's going to be starting smaller scale, starting state or local to build up some experience, and then consider transitioning to federal, and maybe even looking at being a subcontractor, definitely a subcontractor before you try to be a prime contractor.
Right, right, right. Now my mind went blank. I was gonna. Oh, when when an individual comes to you and they think that they have a plan and they think that they know what they're doing and who they need to contact and they're sending their bids in, how do you try to pull how do you pull them back to get them to understand that there's far more regulations um, that people have to adhere to when they're dealing with government contracting? And the reason I say that is there's a portion of government contracting called the middleman strategy. And when you and I first talked, I told you that that was what I was trying to do. And you gave me some pushback, and you told me that that's not really what the government is out for. Can you explain the middleman process to the individuals that are watching today so that they can understand um, maybe some of the do before we even get to the do's and don'ts? One of the things that they need to understand.
So the internet is an interesting place. Social media is an interesting place. And I think the middleman strategy became popular because a lot of people were posting things about how much money they made and how quick they made it. And this is how they made it. And so basically, middleman strategy is you're procuring different things, um, to say it's almost like you're saying you're a jack of all trades. I can get you whatever it is that you need, but you're not necessarily really holding any of the responsibility for what it is that you're getting to give to the government. Um, and and the middleman strategy could be a successful strategy, but it's a strategy that takes a lot of understanding what the FAR regulations, the federal acquisition regulations say, because as a government contractor, there is a certain responsibility that you're going to have as a federal government contractor. And you're getting into looking at potentially subcontracting what you're doing. Are you being a middleman versus being a subcontractor? There are legal aspects to being a middleman. You want to make sure that if say you're looking for computers. We see this quite often too. Okay, so we had one client that said they wanted to be a government contractor because she was just going to go to Walmart and buy computers and then turn around and mark them up and sell them to the federal government. That won't work because there's a responsibility that she's going to have to be able to say, okay, if you get this contract to say that you're going to supply 10,000 computers to the federal government, what if Walmart doesn't have those computers? Or what
Right.
if you can't find those computers? But you're still responsible for providing those computers to the federal government. So it's not as simple and it's not as easy as people think it is. As you're going to buy computers from whomever you get them from, mark them up, and then turn around and sell them to the government, and then you're making your profit off the markup. It doesn't work that way because there's federal requirements that you have to make sure that you're adhering to, and that you're the responsible person for that. It's almost similar to what you have to do if you're going to be a subcontractor. You have to make sure that if you're going to subcontract out part of your job, you have to make sure that you can do it if the person you subcontracted to can't.
Mhm.
And there's legal ramifications to that. And I think the picture that's being presented on social media makes it seem like it's a drop in the bucket, or you can be a distributor, or you can be a wholesaler and provide the federal government anything, and that's all you have to do. But there's more to it than that because there's, like I said, FAR regulations that you have to make sure you're able to adhere to. Because if you don't, then the federal government can prosecute you, and you can go to jail. I mean, so um, like I said, there is a way that you could work that strategy very well, but you have to make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and you're understanding what your role is and your responsibility is to the federal government, because ultimately it's you that has the responsibility to the federal government.
The way that I write my bids is I try to show the government that I'm doing at least 51% of the work that is there. Um,
There has
basically,
to be, yeah, there has to be some ownership.
right, right. So basically,
And
the way that I write my bids out, I show that my administrative, if that's the portion that I'm doing, how my administrative and my consultation and management of the contract equals to 51% of the work, to make sure that if I'm the prime, that I am doing the brunt of the work, because the government will come and ask you who is doing this work. And like you said, there are some government contracts that have FAR regulations where you have to actually be the supplier. You can't be
right,
through the
you
middleman.
have to do everything right. So you have to understand what the regulations are associated with the solicitation that you're looking at, because like you said, there are some situations where you can't sub it out, or you can't source it out to anybody else. You have to be the person that carries it from the beginning to the end and
Right.
everything in the middle. So um, yeah, I mean, we have information that we share with clients that talk about the middleman strategy, um, so that they're able to better understand what it means. We have some resources that are from one of the attorneys that we take trainings from. So there are different um, legal aspects that you want to look at also with the middleman strategy.
Okay, okay. So let's shift now and let's talk about some of the current contracting landscape in Kentucky, because we're in Kentucky as well as the rest of the United States. Um, what are some of the trends that you are seeing in terms of federal contracting demand, state and municipal opportunities? Where are the brunt of the opportunities? And we know that I can attest that right now the amount of government contracts out there isn't the usual amount, and I think that's because of the government shutdown and the fear that there may be another shutdown on the 19th. But where are most of the opportunities now? And for a person that's coming into government contracting, what are some of the easier contracts that they can try to work to basically learn the process?
So as far as trends, um, the trends that we see are what we see from a higher picture, from a government perspective picture, not necessarily trends regionally. Outside of the fact of I can say, like for where we are in Northern Kentucky, because we're high distribution, it's going to be a lot of logistics, probably a lot of trucking and logistics in Northern Kentucky. Whereas maybe in Eastern Kentucky, we have a tendency to see a lot more manufacturing. So you may have more companies making things and um, working in the manufacturing space and producing more products than what you would services. Whereas you go someplace like Louisville or Lexington, you may find a wide variety of things because of just the size of the cities that they are. Um, from a larger trend, there's a lot in AI happening from the federal government level. Um, that's interesting
Yeah.
to
The
see.
CES convention is this week in Las Vegas, and I was supposed to go, but it didn't work out. So, and AI is the big topic at the CES convention this week.
Yes, artificial intelligence has crept into government contracting. Another trend is the CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, and
Mhm.
that's a certification that is required for any government contractor, any federal contractor that's going to be working with the DoD. So that means if you're targeting Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Space Force, and any of their subsidiaries, then you will be required to have the CMMC certification. It helps to protect and make sure that you're able to protect and control the information that you have access to that's the federal government. So, like private information, anything like health information or any kind of technical drawings, if you're trying to do something with the Army and you're going to provide a part on a Hummer, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to have the CMMC certification and maybe level two for sure, possibly level three, depending upon what part you're putting on the Hummer. And
My
this
last two companies I worked for, I went through the CMMC process with those companies, as well as there's another one that you have to go through. But yeah, I have been through their audit. That's yeah, those people come through and they look through everything,
everything, yes.
everything.
And I mean, that's because we've had so many secrets that have been obtained from other countries that aren't friendly with us. So the federal government has, especially the Department of Defense, has kicked it up a notch and said, you know, it's been in the works for several years. So now they're just starting to inspect what they expect, and so now it's written into the DoD solicitations. And so when you see it in the solicitation, you need to have this certification or at least level one, potentially higher levels, depending upon how the solicitation is written, before you can even consider applying for it. Because the contracting officers now are required to double check and make sure that the applicant does have the applicable certification. But now, just as FYI, every government contractor is supposed to have level one. And level one is underneath the regulation 52-204, 52.204-21. And that basically means that you're saying that you are going to handle federal contract information a certain way. And it deals primarily with um, having protection on your laptops or your computers, having using it, having it on there and then using it, making sure that if you're a manufacturer, you have people sign in and sign out when they're in your building. You keep your eye on them. All of your government files are under lock and key. They're stored a certain way. Um, that's at the very basic level that every government contractor should have these things in place. And so that's one of the things that we've been helping our clients with a lot is to make sure that they understand what they have to have at level one as well as level two to make sure they're not stopped in the process of trying to go after a contract because it's very serious. And like I said, right now it's only with the Department of Defense, but it's very possible that the other federal agencies will roll it out in the near future. And I'm saying near future, like the next 5 to 10 years, probably. Every
Okay,
government agency would probably have that requirement only because of the environment that we're in. And everybody, wants to get a hold to the U.S. military top secret information.
okay. So a company that comes to you, they're small and they're saying, Miss Lewis,
Hmm.
this is what I want to do, but do I have to go up against Booz Allen, Boeing? Do I have to compete with these larger companies? When an individual comes to you and asks you that, what do you tell them?
I'm not sure what you mean by do they have to compete with them?
Like I basically wanted to talk about set asides. So if a company's coming in and they have a small business certification, they can go for the small business set aside. Some are partial small business set asides where there are small businesses and large businesses competing, and some are 100% set asides for small businesses where there's only small businesses competing.
Hmm.
You can compete in both arenas, but for people that are new that are coming in, you probably want to get your certifications through the state that you're in so that you are a certified small business so that you can go after those set asides.
So, um, speaking on the small business programs, so and these are the your socioeconomic programs that are administered by the SBA. So you have the 8A certification, you have the woman-owned small business certification, you have the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, you have the veteran-owned small business, you have the services able veteran-owned small business, and then you have the hub zone. Um, each one of these programs has what you were mentioning is set aside. So a set aside means that the opportunity is set aside specifically for one of those programs. So the VA may put out a solicitation and they may put it out as a source of salt initially. A source of salt is the government's way of doing market research. It's not a solicitation, and they'll tell you in it that they're not soliciting for any specific vendor at that time. They're really just trying to find out who the within the vendor database per se can provide this service or provide this product. And so once you apply, or once everybody applies, then the government will come back and look at who's applied and make a decision on how they're going to release the actual solicitation. Then that's when it goes to the next phase, and it could be released as a set aside if they are seeing that um, there are specific small businesses that could meet the criteria that they're looking for. It could be set aside as a sole source if they're seeing that there's at least two or more that have a good chance of actually performing on the contract. And so there's the set aside that's specifically only for women-owned small businesses or only for 8A small businesses. But then there's also what's called a sole source, meaning that it would go only for one person.
Right.
That makes sense. But you could all compete for it, but then it would be just sole source for this one particular company based upon them having the best capability to perform what it is that they're looking for. Where you're speaking of is can they compete to the larger companies? The largest cannot bid on it if it's set up as
Right.
a set aside
Right.
because that's the whole purpose of the social economic programs is to give small businesses that are 8A, woman owned, veteran owned, hub zone, the opportunity to have a seat at the table, so to speak. And so anytime if you're in one of those um economic programs, then you want to make sure that you apply for the certification. So if you think that um, if you are a veteran, then you can apply for the veteran on small business. If you're a service disabled veteran, it must be service connected, then you can apply for the service disabled. If you're a woman, you can apply for the woman. If you're economically disadvantaged, meaning there's a certain um, uh, income criteria or there's a certain revenue criteria that you have to have as an individual as well as the company, then you could potentially apply for the one that's economically disadvantaged. And then we can assist you with those certifications as well by going through the SBA portal. So there are some advantages to the set aside program as well as the sole source. It just depends upon if that's the way you want to go. Sometimes people don't want to go that way because they don't want to be separated out, if that makes sense. But then a lot of times, small businesses do want to go that way because that's the purpose of the program to give you a chance. Not to say that you're separated or better than, just give you opportunity. to have a seat at the table.
Because the thing about it is, when you're going up against the big companies, it's you can win, but it's very, very hard because they have different departments that are doing all the work that you're doing by yourself. So,
Well, and there's another side to having your certification as well, because a lot of times if you have your certification, then largest may look for you to do a teaming agreement with or to do a joint venture with because you do have the certification. Now, there's different FAR regulations around that to make sure that it's structured properly, and that you meet, the criteria of the regulation. But when you do have that certification, it is very possible that you may be sought out because you have that certification. But then, like I said, there's specific subcontracting requirements that have to be met to make sure that you're not breaking any FAR regulations as well. Or there may be two veteran-owned companies that want to go together to increase their capacity to go after a larger contract also. But it all goes back to the FAR regulation. So anything
right.
that you're going to do in government contracting is going to have a FAR regulation associated with. But there's a good thing with that also. So the our council just went through and did a revamp, and I'm sure everybody has probably heard about that. That there was a revamp of the FAR regulations. So the idea behind that was to make them easier for the contracting officers to understand what's being said, and for those of us that want to read it, but then also to create more consistency across the whole government procurement process. So that recently has just happened. Excuse me. And for any small businesses that are out there that want to have some weekend reading material, you could go look at the FAR 19 because that one does specifically deal with small businesses. Um, and then you can see um, the updates. If you knew the previous FAR regulations, you can figure out what the updates are, or you can Google uh, FAR 19 revisions, and I'm sure there's plenty out there on the internet for you. But the FAR 19 is dealing with small businesses, and so it would be good for everyone to understand, what impact that the regulations do have on your business and the things that you have to do to make sure you stay in compliance with FAR.
And before we go further, what are some of the mistakes that you see beginning government contract companies make that could be prevented if they came to the Apex Accelerator?
I would say frustration, confusion, going down the rabbit hole. Um, um, how can I say this? Being taken advantage of by companies that aren't really delivering the service that they say they can deliver.
Right.
We see that quite often. Um, Small businesses will come to us because they've gone to another company. They paid for a service
Mhm.
from a company they found on the internet, or maybe they may have found them legitimately from some other way. But when the rubber meets the road, they don't get what they paid for.
Right.
We see it really a lot when it comes to registering for the SAM database
Mm-hmm.
or the other databases. We see it a lot when it comes to the certifications. Um, we see a lot of bundling.
Some companies charge upwards of $500 to help
Oh,
you
more than that,
get on to sam.gov, and
more than that.
it is a lot of questions to answer, and it can be tough, but with the right help, you can get through it without paying $500 to start.
And I mean, and it's not to say that there aren't some reputable companies out there because there are. There are reputable companies that out there that help small businesses. But you just have to do your due diligence to make sure that you're getting what you're paying for.
Mm-hmm.
And then but there is also a place for them because someone may not want to be coached. They may want someone to do it all for them. And so that's what a lot of those companies offer, the service that we will do it for you. So if you don't want if you don't have the time or don't want to sit down and be coached through a process, then that option may be best for you. So, and that's okay. I would just say though, make sure that you do your due diligence to make sure you're getting what you're paying for. But if you don't mind to be coached, if you don't mind, to have someone to walk you through the different processes that you need to go through to um, reach the results you're trying to get, then by all means connect with Apex
Yes. I would,
for free.
I would say for anyone out there that has a thought of creating a government contract company and you're just starting, don't go to any of the services. Go to your local Apex Accelerator first, because they will get you on the right road, get you on a road to success. I can attest to that. Um, you may think you know everything and you have all the answers, but the Apex Accelerator will help you meet other government contracting companies. I've been to a couple of socials that are hosted by the Apex Accelerator and basically get you on the right track. So if you're in the beginnings and you're looking to start a government contract company, contact your local Apex Accelerator. And if you're in the Northern Kentucky area, contact Ms. Lewis.
So thank you for that. So I will say, so to work with us, let me talk a little bit about that. So to work with us, there is a process that you'd have to go online to our website and register, because we have to get permission to work with our clients. So our clients have to say, yes, I want to work with the Kentucky APEX Accelerator, by just signing it electronically on the application. It takes maybe what, 5 minutes to do. And we'll ask for just basic demographic information about your company. And then once you've entered your information in, we'll go through a process to make sure that everything is set up and you're registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State. You'll be connected with one of the counselors. You'll get an introductory email introducing you to your counselor. You'll be connected to the counselor that is in your area. So for me, it would be Northern Kentucky, the 15 counties in Northern Kentucky. But if you're across the state anywhere else, then you would be connected with the consultant that takes care of your respective county. Then we'll reach out to you within 24, 48 hours, if not sooner, from us being notified that you're now in our pipeline, and we'll set up our orientation meeting. So the meetings are either virtual or they can be in person. um, if you have a brick and mortar business, we can meet you at your brick and mortar business. But if you don't, like if you work from home, which a lot of people have home based companies, then I meet with clients either at one of the libraries here, or I've met with clients at Starbucks. I've met with clients at Panera Bread, um, just to have the initial one on one
Mhm.
interaction. Or if you prefer, we can do it by Zoom or we can do it the Teams. And it's just getting information, understanding what your company does, what your goals are. I take my clients through, it's probably what, a 7 or 8 step process, just to make sure that you're getting the foundation laid, which would include SAM registration, capability statement, establishing keywords, understanding what your NAICS codes are and your PSC codes are, making sure that we've done market research to where you really have an idea that the government really does buy what you sell. Because the government is a consumer, and they do purchase everything that they use, but they may not purchase it at the rate that you need them to purchase it at for you to sustain a business. So that's what we're trying to figure out. Does the government buy what you have available to sell enough for you to run a business uh, from those purchases? And then once the foundation is established, then it's just a matter of working through the process, looking for opportunities, um, reading the opportunities. We can help you review solicitations. We can't write them for you. We can help you review solicitations, make sure you've dot the I's, cross the T's. We can help you to know how to do a bid, no bid decision, which is a very quick way to determine whether or not you want to actually bid on the contract or not. Don't waste your time gathering information if you get down here to the bottom of this 25th page and you find out, oh, I can't do that. Well, if you can't do that, then you just wasted time
You just
just
wasted
getting your
3 hours reading that document.
right, right. So we help you to figure out, how to do things like that, so that you're being efficient and figuring out as quick as you possibly can whether or not you want to go after the opportunity.
What do most successful businesses that you have worked with, what do they do different?
They listen to us.
Yeah, I listen. I listen. I will say that when I have my meetings with Ms. Louis, I probably have 3 or 4 pages worth of notes when the meetings are over. I review my notes. I send her email saying that this is what I got out of it. So I'll say this. You will get out of government contracting what you put into it.
what you put into it.
What you put into it.
So I would say just being prepared. So and this is where having the business plan really comes into play, because in your business plan, you want to have an idea how much time you're going to dedicate to doing B2C, business to consumer, if that's what your product or service does, or how much time is going to be B2B, business to business, or how much time can you spend business to government, B2G. And so once you figure that out, then when you come to us, it should make it a little bit easier to figure out, okay, I can meet with Lynn this many times a month or this many times a quarter, and these are the things that we're going to work on, because this is what my business plan says I need to be trying to work on when it comes to government contracting. If you don't really have an idea of what you're really trying to do from an overall business perspective, it can be a little challenging to figure out what you want to do from a government perspective, and for us to kind of help you figure it out. So that's probably, I'd say that's the gap too. So helping clients figure out what they want to do, who they want to do it with, as far as who they want to target, and helping them to figure out how much time they can really spend working on their business, working in their business versus working on their business. Because you have to still balance it out and figure out a way to make money. You can't, spend all your time doing market research and not getting out there trying to make some sales so you have some money coming in. So if you get a contract, you can make sure you can hire the people, or you can get the products that you need to fulfill the contract. So you have to be able to have a general idea of big picture of what you want to do. And then as you put all the different pieces to the puzzle together, then you can get more specific on how you want to, drive the bus forward to accomplish all your goals.
Okay. And when companies come to you and say, where can I find these opportunities? Where can companies go to look for government contracting opportunities? I know we have sam.gov, and there are others. I also use PIEE. I use PI and SAM, but there are many locations that you can find government contracting opportunities, but for the most part, most of them are on sam.gov.
So for the federal, it would be sam.gov or into the product database that's called DIBS. And don't ask me what that stands for, but that's the DLA database. That if you're product based, that's where you're going to find a lot of opportunities in that database. SAM, anything over $25,000 is put into SAM for the open market. If it's under $25,000, you're not going to find it in SAM. That's where you have to really get into doing your relationship building to understand who you want to target, and then build relationships with those individuals, so that when they have an opportunity, you need to understand how they procure for opportunities under $25,000. So that's some of the things that we'll coach you on, is that once you figure out what you want to do and the capacity that you can work to fulfill, then it's a matter of which direction do you go. Do you spend all your time in SAM for ops over 25,000, or do you work on opportunities that are below that, which is called micro purchases? Do you work to build relationships for those micro purchase opportunities, which would mean potentially meeting with procurement directors or going to outreach events that are local to you, so you can meet the people, shake the hands, pass out the business cards, the capability statements, make those connections, so that when they have an opportunity, they'll say, "Oh, I remember Aaron. I saw him last week wherever." And then they'll go back and they'll pull out your information because you've made some kind of connection with them.
Mhm.
Um, that's what you'll want to make sure that you're able to do to find the opportunities. You can actually you can go to the respective procurement databases for whatever agency that you're looking for, whether it's federal, state, or local. Because many times, in addition to what may be posted into SAM, they may have their own database that they keep opportunities in as well. So that's something for you to consider. So for the state of Kentucky, you would want to go to the state of Kentucky's website. Make sure you register. You can register to receive opportunity notifications, or you can go in there and just look around to see, using keywords or using NAICS codes, or NIPG codes. You can go in there and search for former opportunities that were awarded, or you can search for upcoming opportunities that may be coming down the pipeline. So that's kind of a few of the ways that you can find opportunities. And as many databases that you can register for, you may want to consider doing that, so you don't have to go back all the time and do the searches on your own. But then if you're going to do that, I would suggest that you consider setting up a separate email account, so that they're not coming into your primary email account and either getting lost or your primary email account is being bombarded with a bunch of emails for opportunities. So you may have a client emailing you, but then you also may have 75 opportunities because you've registered for all these different
Right.
databases. So you may want to consider doing a special email account for just your opportunities, so they're all in one place and not intermingling with your regular business account.
Miss Lewis, we probably got about 5 more minutes. We're gonna have to do this again because there's so much information that we weren't able to get through today. But in this last 5 minutes, what would you like to tell individuals that are thinking of becoming government contractors?
Um, I would say there's opportunities there. As I said earlier, the government, the federal government especially, well as state and local, they they don't make anything. They procure everything. They buy everything. They purchase everything. So there's opportunities there. If you don't have any type of past performance, then I would say consider starting small and growing. So consider local and state opportunities. Um, so you can get some past performance because past performance is very important. Whether it's on the government side or whether it's on the B2B side, you want to make sure that you're getting some type of past performance. Make sure that your business is established. And so we see clients that come to us and their business isn't fully established. And what I mean by that is business plan, accounting system, business checking account, legal documents, operating agreements, or bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
These are things you're definitely going to need. The operating agreements and on the bylaws you would definitely need if you're thinking about applying for one of the certifications, because you have to be able to prove that you um, govern and control and own these companies that you're asking for the certifications under. Um, have an idea or a sense of um, your goals, short term, intermediate goals, and long term goals. We can assist you with, like I said, with I can't think of anything that we could not assist you with on the government contracting space, whether it's federal, state, or local, because we collectively, from the six consultants, we do over 1,000 hours a year of education. So we have to be educated ourselves so we can make sure that we're giving our clients the right information and we're kept abreast and up to date on the trends and the things that are changing in the procurement space. So um, it's really important that you have a strategy, you have some things thought through, you're prepared for the meetings, you're prepared for the trainings. We see um, I don't want to say a lot, but we see plenty. I guess I can use that word. Plenty of clients that do business on their cell phone. It's really hard sometimes for us to coach a client on the cell phone, especially when it comes to doing things on the database, because the database you can't see everything that you have to see
Right.
on the phone versus having a laptop or a desktop. So
Yeah.
and that's those are some of the things I'm saying about being prepared for the actual training and the coaching. And it's okay if you can't if you don't have your stuff done, it's okay to reschedule. Isn't that right, Aaron?
Yes, ma'am.
It's okay to reschedule. We don't mind you to reschedule, but just whenever you have time with us to be as prepared as possible, because we want to make sure that you're a success.
Okay. So, if there are people out here who are who are in Kentucky, how would they be able to get in contact with you to to use the services?
So to register with the Kentucky APEX Accelerator, you would want to go to Kentucky APEX dot I think it's .com. I should know this. I'm sorry.
It's
It's
dot com.
.com
It's dot
or .org.
KP,
.com.
KYApex.com.
Right. I don't email us. I mean, KentuckyApex.com, and I think it's in the upper right hand corner of the screen. There is a client registration. Click on that, register. As I said, maybe it takes you about 5 minutes, um, and then you'll get into our portal, and then you will be assigned to a consultant to work with you if you're out of the state of Kentucky, like I said, you can go to apexaccelerators.us and find a um, Apex Accelerator in your area. Some states, so we cover an entire state, but then there are some apexes that are broken up into different segments. So you would just click on the county that's more appropriate for where you live, and then you would be connected to the right person. But I mean, basically, it's as simple as that. Please, if you don't think that you're ready to be one of our clients yet, that's fine as well. But still, please connect with us on Twitter as well as LinkedIn, because we're going to have some exciting news coming out next year that I can't tell you about yet. But I think that it's going to be really exciting, and everyone will be happy to hear about it. And so that way, you would be informed of what's going on with Kentucky Apex Accelerator if you're connected to us.
Yes. If you're out there, you need to subscribe to the Kentucky Apex Accelerator newsletter. It comes out every month. And if you subscribe today, you'll be able to see a spotlight on myself as I
Yes, he's our January spotlight. You'll be there in January. You'll be our
yes.
January spotlight.
So I've been putting in hard work. I've been doing things, and now I'm going to be spotlighted in the Apex Accelerator newsletter. I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping that's going to generate some opportunities for me. I know it will. I looked at some of the past newsletters and the companies that were highlighted, and I am grateful and excited to be featured in the Kentucky Apex newsletter. And I just hope that I live up to the standards of the past recipients of this
You do.
opportunity. So I'm excited.
You do. I appreciate you doing that for us too.
I appreciate you, Miss Lewis. I hope that we said something that will help you in your path to creating a government contracting company. If you're not in Kentucky, contact the Apex Accelerator that's in your area. And with that said, thank you for tuning in. I will have more exciting shows coming up. This is the Kaptivative Point of View. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Hold on, Miss Lewis.